Today, we're at Alcatraz. Not apparently on an island, at the one that's located off the coast of San Francisco, but we are in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
That's right, this is a place called Alcatraz East. It's based off the real Alcatraz. It's obviously not the real Alcatraz. It's supposed to look like an 1800s prison. Look at that guy right there. He's trying to escape the fake prison. And there's even a guard up there with a gun in his arms, in his hands. He's ready to stop the guy. This is going to be interesting. We're going to take a tour of Alcatraz East. Of course, this was originally opened in Washington, D.C. Now, most museums there are for-profit. This was a not-for-profit one, and it wasn't making a whole lot of profit. It didn't reach the amount of money it needed to make to maintain its lease there. They were thrown out. They threw Alcatraz out of Washington, D.C., and it arrived here in Pigeon Forge. So let's check out the Pigeon Forge one. This should be exciting. O.J. Simpson escape vehicles in there. Some other things too. We've actually been in here before. We checked out the O.J. Simpson car for our O.J. Simpson story, but we haven't done a full tour of the place, and we're excited to do that now. And we cordially invite you to come along for the adventure.
Come along.
Alcatraz East Crime Museum. Let's take a closer look over here. The guard we were telling you about, I don't know if you can really see him in the other shot, but there he is. He's got a gun in his hand and he's monitoring this prisoner who's trying to escape. Now let's head on in. The Doors of Alcatraz. And actually, as I was looking at it a little closer, we noticed that these are actually fake doors. You don't enter there. You enter these doors are right here. Visiting rules: don't harass the inmates. Here we go. It's set up just like jail cells. Prisoner up there. And there. And there. And who's this guy up here? I have no idea. And as you come in, you see here handcuffs on the way in. Here we go, up the stairs into the museum. No executions were performed at Alcatraz. Death sentences were transferred to San Quentin State Penitentiary for execution by the gas chamber. There's the actual Alcatraz off San Francisco. Do you have a story or crime artifact to share? Oh, it's really getting scary in here now. Keep 6 feet apart. There's a German hand axe. It was used to chop off the hands of those accused of theft. Wow. How about some iron tongs? Iron tongs were used to tear strips of flesh from the accused. What do we got here? Leg irons. Confine prisoners for their ankles, by their ankles. And iron head cages hold the head in place for brutal tortures, such as putting out the eyes or facial branding. This is a water torture funnel. They stuff this deep into someone's mouth and pour gallons of water in while holding their nostrils shut. This is a hanging machine from Spain in the late 1700s. They used it all the way into the 1900s. Put you in there, and then they'd pull a lever, and that'd be it for you. Look down. What do we have down here?
Is my crime. For that, I, Dahmer Scott, suffered the pain of having my nostrils slit.
Here we have batten down the hatches. Are you a sea dog or a land lubber? Make sure you can tie these essential knots so the captain will have you sent to Davy Jones' locker. Savvy? Then you can practice your knots right here. Show us one of your knots.
My name is Thomas Williams.
In 1740, I was found guilty of
Can you make the mooring hitch? Let's see. Not as easy as it looks, is it?
No, it is not.
I'm James Hampton. For the crime of violence.
How long do I
I was
have?
alive with a duckish.
Oh, you're out of time.
During which I was drowned.
Hold on. You don't have to record this.
Drunkenness was my crime. For that, I, Daniel Scott, suffered the pain of having my...
Ahoy, me hearties. What is the name of a real pirate? Is it Captain Hook? Dread Pirate Roberts? Calico Jack? Captain Barbossa? Captain Shakespeare? Push. Push. Calico Jack. Rack. Ham. 1682 to 1720.
Drunkenness was my crime.
Jail. Let's enter in. And you can stick your face right back out here. Get your picture made. These floorboards were taken from the house of George P. Height. There's the house right there. In Logan County, Kentucky, Height was the uncle of Jesse and Frank James, and his sons often ran with the James gang. The Height home was used as a hideout after being shot. Jesse James nearly bled to death in an upstairs bedroom, causing these stains. This is NASCAR legend Junior Johnson. He was thrown in jail in 1956 for having a moonshine still. Since 2007, Johnson's been a partner in legal Midnight moonshine. Over here, you can play a shooting game. Chicago Ambush is the story of catching outlaw John Dillinger at the Biograph Theater. Of course, Heather and I have been there. And there's the alleyway where he died. There's actually a mural on this side to Dillinger. And then there's like his wanted posters and different things on that side. If you want to know more about that, check out our video on Dillinger's death location. Right down that alley there. Or actually, kind of like right in the front of the alley, right in this area here. Is where he would be found at. Public Enemy #1. Let's look at a Biograph Theater where John Dillinger saw that movie right before he was killed. The FBI was waiting outside for him and took off to the alley. Death photo, Dillinger. This is a wood carved gun, such as this that he used to escape from jail. Mugshot photo, right down here. It's actual the John Dillinger death mask. The little mustache perfectly in place. Thompson submachine gun. It was the ideal weapon for the protection of large estates, ranches, and plantations. A combination of machine gun and semi-automatic shoulder rifle in the form of a pistol. Let's play a little game. Of course, this one's easy. Our crew killed more police officers and civilians than any other gang of our time, and mostly robbed small groceries and gas stores. Who are we? Bonnie and Clyde, of course. I didn't mess around with small town bank robbers. I once got away with $1 million. Who am I? Who is he? Quick. Harvey John Bailey. I was personally arrested in 1936 by FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover in New Orleans. Who am I? Alvin Creepy Karpus. It was a publicity stunt with agents holding Karpus at gunpoint until Hoover came and made it official before the cameras. Just a publicity stunt. Bonnie, to quote Britney Spears, not that innocent. People think that she was just kind of this sweetheart. Their poetry was even being published in the newspapers. But then they found out she actually participated in a lot of these murders. And public opinion soured on her. Of course, after that, they were both killed on a lonely road. Right here is one of the actual bullets that struck Pretty Boy Floyd when he was killed. That was in Ohio in 1934. Here's some casings and slugs from the John Dillinger gang. This is when they robbed the East Chicago First National Bank. Here's Frank Hamer's Masonic ring. Of course, Hamer was the one that was hired and brought in to track down Bonnie and Clyde. He was part of the group that did ambush them and kill them. Over here we got the Ballad of Donna Bell Lee. This is one of Bonnie Parker's poems. She loved to write poetry. And over here we got Bonnie and Clyde's bullet-riddled vehicle, the old Ford V8. The old Ford V8. This is actually out at a casino. We've actually been out there, outside of Nevada, outside of Las Vegas in Nevada.
Say hello to my little friend.
Right over here we got the actual submachine gun that was used in the filming of the movie Scarface. Of course, starring Al Pacino. Of course, the scene that this gun was most famous for and was used in was that one with the infamous line.
Say hello to my little friend, Scarface.
Yeah. Got Al Capone wall. We've been up here to the SMC Cartage Company, or actually the former location of it. That is, of course, where the Valentine's Day Massacre took place in Chicago. Benjamin Bugsy Siegel, of course, his famous line was, "We only kill each other." He was talking to one of the business partners he had out there building the Flamingo, and the guy telling him how he's really nervous about working with these guys. He said, "We only kill each other, don't you worry, you'll be fine." Of course, he actually was killed, assassinated out in California. Here's some more about the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Of course, we covered this one up in Chicago and went to the old SMC, or where the SMC Cartage building was. It's no longer standing. It's torn down sometime later. And that certainly played a big role in it, what happened inside there. There were men, probably Capone's men, dressed as police officers, who came into the building and shot all the men. Of course, officially, that case has never been solved. Here's a look at the outside of that building. Got some of Al Capone souvenirs over here. His fork. What is that blue thing? Don't know. And some other utensils, plus something from the Hotel Key, Lexington Hotel 518. And down here, green tile recovered from Al Capone's private bathroom at the Lexington Hotel headquarters was demolished in 1995. And his gold tone Gillette razor. There was Mickey Cohen's custom-made suit. They sure dress nice, those mobsters. Tough guys. Matter of fact, right back here is the Teflon Don, all dressed up as well, John Gotti. Here's a look at a Colt Thompson model 1921, serial number 2065. Here's a display for D.B. Cooper. Of course, he hijacked a plane, got $200,000 in ransom money, then he jumped out of the plane, never to be seen again. No one knows what happened to D.B. Cooper or that money. 3 packs of $20 bills were found in 1980 matching the ransom money. Many believe he could have perished on that plane. Over here is actually the signature of the serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer. He was only allowed to have a certain number of postcards and mail sent to him while he was in jail, and of course, for some reason, maybe someone out there to explain this to me, but a lot of women seem to like these kind of crazy people. So he had to actually return 5 postcards because he had over his limit in postcards, and there, Jeffrey Dahmer's signature. And over here, we have some artwork signed by Charles Manson. We got a card, a happy birthday card sent by David Berkowitz, son of Sam, while he was in jail. Remember me? Happy birthday blast for the 4th of July. You ain't forgotten. You never answered my letter, so I figured you moved out to the Yukon. Miss ya. Repeat a poem. Over the years, we've shed many tears. In spite of the jeers, we proudly drank our beers on Queens Boulevard. Your friend. Happy birthday, your friend, Dave. We got the John Wayne Gacy display over here. Here is his booking photo. Look actually been up to his house area up there. I don't feel that a John Wayne Gacy would be able to get away with it nowadays. The police really bungled this one a lot. We talk more about that in our John Wayne Gacy story. But over here we've got the actual clown outfits, patches, the lesser known one, and over here is the most well-known one, Pogo the Clown. Of course, you've all seen the photo of Gacy in that outfit there. And while he was in prison, he actually, I don't know if he actually made money, but attempted to make money. He did artwork of himself as the clown and would sell it. And over here, you gotta look at his jacket that he was actually arrested in. He was wearing this jacket right here. You can see Heather inside of his jacket. It's crazy. Were you in there when he got arrested?
I may have been.
Ooh. So he was actually a businessman. He was married a couple times. He had kids, ran a contracting company. So that's why people were not suspicious of him at all, of being a bad guy. Here's his wallet. It's part of the Millionaires Club. He had his Visa, his Radio Shack card, his Hertz card, and a Social Security card maybe, right there. Here's Gacy's painting stuff, where he actually painted those clown photos. A raid of the Barker Ranch, October 12th, 1969. They grabbed this guitar, which was actually Charles Manson's guitar. Charles Manson was big into music. He actually co-wrote or wrote a song for the Beach Boys, Never Learn Not to Love, which was actually released, and there it is right there. The single, the record for that song. He wanted to be a famous musician, but that didn't work out too well. He went in a different direction and became Charles Manson we all know now. Charles Whitman climbed up to the top of the tower at the University of Texas and began shooting, killing multiple people. We actually visit his grave and talk a lot more about that in that story. But right here is the actual rifle he used from up top of that tower. And there's his picture on the cover of Time magazine from August 12th, 1966. Now here's a showcase and it was collected from the scene. Here from down in Volusia County, Florida, are the fingerprints of a famous female serial killer, Eileen Wuornos, from Michigan, who lived in Florida and committed her murders there. A man by the name of Brian Douglas Wells was a pizza delivery guy. He had come up with a scheme with a bunch of other people. They were going to rob a bank, and he was going to have a fake bomb around his neck. This has been featured on America's Most Wanted several times, and this is actually what they used in the making of that episode. He had a cane here, a fake cane. It was supposed to be a gun, and he had this around his neck when he walked in there to rob the place. When police arrived and arrested him, he started begging them to take it off, and he was actually blown up on live television. It turns out people that he'd made up this plan with double-crossed him. His co-conspirators double-crossed him, and he was killed. John Walsh, who was, of course, the host of America's Most Wanted. Now, the reason why he became the host is because his son, Adam Walsh, was murdered at just 6 years old. And actually, John Walsh, not only did he host the show, but he also took part in creating this museum when it was first opened up in Washington, D.C. Actually, they had a studio in the museum there, and he recorded the show from that studio for a period of time. But here's a display for some mass shootings. DC Beltway sniper, of course, in 2002. They went around, there were two of them. A boy, along with his uncle, I believe, they killed 10 people, 13 victims in all, 3 survived. There's the Columbine shooting from April 20th, 1999. Eric Harris and Dylan people had shotguns and bombs when they entered the school. Tucson shooting. Gabby Giffords, Congresswoman shot. Happy Land Fire. March 20th, 1990. Little Gonzalez entered there. Was ejected by the bouncer, began to fight with her. Returned later and poured gasoline. The only staircase into and out of the club, starting a roaring inferno that killed 87 people. Nickel Mines, Swoosh shooting. That was October 2nd, 2006. This is when 5 Amish girls in a schoolhouse in Pennsylvania were killed. General Tech Massacre. Sadly, there's a recent one that may be out of there in Texas. About 91 Music Festival from October 1st, 2017. Of course, that was the Country Music Festival out in Las Vegas. Jason Aldean was performing at the time. This is apparently a hat someone was wearing at that festival. See the bullet hole there. And the crosses were laid out for all the victims in Las Vegas. So here's what from Columbine. Some of the things from that day, including lunch money, 4/20, 1999. 370 in unspent lunch money. From a 17-year-old girl who played on the basketball team, and the coach, Dave Sanders, was killed while leading his students to safety. And as a planner as well. Here's the 9/11 room.
That someone would do this to our country and to such a respected institution.
George W. Bush. We can't hear you. Well, I can hear you. And the rest of the world's gonna hear us. Hear from all of us. Next area is called the CSI Experience. You can kind of go through how police work through solving cases in here. Shoe impressions. Casting material. Tire prints. Shoe prints. In this case, apparently a boot print. Bio foam. Impression foam. Lifters and dirt test partners. See how they use ballistics, solid rounds, firearm identification, ballistics, reconstruction, put the face back together, see what the person would have looked like. They don't know what the person looked like. They don't know who the person was. Reconstruct the face. Get it from that. Tools of the autopsy table. Bone cutting saw, bone chisel, rib shears, bone mallet, body fluid, scoop, dissecting knife handle. The autopsy table is there. Over here.
This area would have been swabbed for DNA prior to autopsy. There was no particular hemorrhage in the delicate tissue of the eye, indicating the victim had very low blood pressure. In summary, the victim died from a shotgun wound to the left shoulder and a gunshot wound to the right leg.
Dental identification over here, dental x-ray matching. Matching the dental records to figure out who the victim was. And of course, the good old-fashioned fingerprint analysis. The man in black, of course, he had Johnny Cash. Didn't do much actual jail time, but he did do some. This is actual black shirt that he wore. There's a booking photo from one of his jail sentences. Of course, he had a little bit of an issue with drugs and alcohol for a while there. He did get cleaned up eventually. Judge Belvin Perry Jr. wore this robe while presiding over the Casey Anthony case in 2011. Here's some items belonging to Kaylee. Winnie the Pooh blanket was found with her body. Here's Judge Perry's gavel from the case. Some more of her stuffed animals. Some various different contraband collected from prison.
And responsibility. It helps. Compensated at a rate of 12 cents per hour. As a result of your
Some brass knuckles.
you have forfeited the right to privacy. Conversations will be monitored. Your cell, sink, and the toilet are exposed. And you will
Crazy all the stuff that they're able to put together while serving time in prison. Here's a look at a regular prison cell at Eastern State. Looks pretty normal for a prison cell. But right next door, we're going to take a peek at Al Capone's prison cell in that same prison right here. Wow. Look at the difference there. He actually had basically modern luxury in his prison cell. The oriental rugs, a radio, and Art Deco paintings. Quite a nice place to live if you got to be in prison. Al Capone. I noticed when we were in here that said, see if you can escape. I think so. Here's a beheading axe from Austria in the 1700s. It was considered a swift and painless form of death as long as the executioner had good aim. And the cat, the nine tails. It's used for flogging was a corporal punishment. It's called the ducking stool. Submerged in water, tied to a stool as a form of punishment. They would hang this out into the water and send you under. Of course, everybody knows this one, the guillotine. Stick your head right in there. And your head would land right down here. 16,594 estimated died by the guillotine during the reign of terror. Here we got Tennessee's electric chair. It was known as Old Smoky. And the gas chamber. Please do not touch. A little bit of trivia for you to answer. What led to Alcatraz closing? Because it was the most expensive prison to operate. Temporary exhibit here for Ted Bundy's final arrest. Creating an identity is not terribly difficult to do at all. Now, when he was put to death at the state prison down in Florida, they had Ted Bundy t-shirts, Friday, Fry, Bundy, Fry, See Ted Die, Burn Bundy, Ken's 2 Tavern, Super Bowl party after Sunday, we'll burn Bundy. The typewriter that was used by Ted Bundy. Here's some of the disguises that he had: gloves, mask, trash bags, things like that. His murder kit. And over here we have the victims of Ted Bundy. Robert Bundy. And of course he drove around in that VW, which is actually here, right there. Ted Bundy's VW. 1968 Volkswagen Beetle. And he had the passenger seat removed. He would grab his victims and throw them in there and drive them around. Of course, he would pretend like he was in some kind of trouble. He would have his arm in a cast, or he'd be walking with a cane or something and have some books or a book bag, and he'd have someone, hey, come help me carry my books, please. When they get back to his car, he'd throw them into that car right there. This next one is a replica of the Bonnie and Clyde death car. This is one that was used in the classic film Bonnie and Clyde. Next we got John Dillinger's 1933 Essex Terraplane. Dillinger. Beautiful looking car. And then perhaps the most famous vehicle in here. One of the most famous vehicles of all time, the Bronco XLT, Al Calling's car. This is the real Bronco that was seen in the police chase. Al Callings was driving, OJ was in the passenger seat. The slow speed chase. It finally ended back at OJ's mansion in California. And this car right here. And this is the actual helmet, one of the helmets that Simpson actually wore when he played for the Buffalo Bills from 1969 to 79. And then a couple covers, American Tragedy and Trail of Blood, Time and Newsweek. Bit of a law enforcement exhibit. Final chapter of Walking Tall, Bufford Pusser. Now there was a man who used to walk around with a large stick and he'd beat people with it if they were breaking the law. And the Walking Tall movies were based off of him. He was a sheriff. Don't Mess with the Mess, Elliot Ness. The Untouchables movie with Kevin Costner. This pistol was actually used in the filming. There you see Kevin Costner's autograph, this holding the pistol. Look at this pistol here. Gold-plated Beretta pistol, 1990. State police motorcycle that you can pop a squat on.
Now be sure to hit the like button, smash the subscribe button, and ring the notification bell so you can come along with us on future adventures.
Come along.